Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me again today. I'm going to talk a little bit about an article in The Guardian today about deaths in prison. It was written by two ladies that run a charitable institution called Inquest. That's Deborah Coles and Jessica Pandian. They write about the number of deaths in prison. 371 deaths in British prisons in the last 12 months. Now, I have experience of deaths in prison, and they are usually suicides, a few murders, of course. But basically, what these two ladies are saying in their article, I highly recommend that you read it, is that this is a disgrace to the nation, an absolute insult, and people whose children are imprisoned, and increasingly the government and the Justice Department are using imprisonment as a form of deterrent. They seem to be doing that, except we all know that it doesn't deter anybody, because if you're going to commit a criminal offence, usually you don't take into account what the possibilities are should it go wrong. Normally these people who are extremely determined to do what they're going to do just do it and believe that they're going to get away with it. And who do we lock up in these prisons? Well, I'll tell you, when I was there, it was very obvious that we got the homeless. I mean, I've described to you what happens to the vagrants when they get locked up at places like Wormwood Scrubs. They get slung into a cell where very often they're incontinent, perhaps doubly incontinent, and they are infected with lice and all manners of diseases, and they're kept in separate cells. And at the Scrubs anyway, when I was there, they used to hose them down with a fire hose. How disgraceful is that? You've got a lot of people with mental health issues in prison because they do not have any large institutions for the insane or the people who are psychiatrically experiencing a difficult period. But so the psychiatric patients are in there. You've got a great number of drug addicts. And of course, when I was at the Scrubs, the drug addicts got no treatment. No treatment at Strangeways either. Straight in there, cold turkey, just put on normal location. I mean, can you imagine being in a cell with somebody you've never met before in your life, yeah? And they're coming down from cocaine or whatever it is that they've been hooked on, yeah? It's extremely dangerous. People get killed, people get desperate, and they hang themselves. That's a normal way of dealing with it. I mean, we don't no longer have the death sentence in Britain, but what we do have is massive overcrowding, and they're building more prisons. Listen, prisons don't work. The only thing that a prison is good for is holding somebody who is violent and a threat to society. That's the only good reason that you've got for using prison. Seriously. And look at the prison population. It's booming. It's a boom industry. When I was at the Scrubs in 1975, I started in 1975, when I was there, the actual prison population was less than 40,000. Today, the prison population is approaching 100,000, and they're planning to build more prisons. When will it stop? I mean, we've not just got to the point where we're building prisons now, they're building private prisons that are run by things like G4S, or whatever the name is now. Used to be Group 4, started by 4 ex-policemen. Yeah, but G4S runs the prisons. Numerous private associations running prisons for profit. and they're paying the staff. They're paying the staff the basic minimum wage. What are you going to get? I mean, when I joined the prison service, it was supposed to be a career, yeah, that you worked through for 30 years, 35 years, and you came out of it at the end. You made your progress through the ranks, probably ended up as a governor or whatever, and you came out with a pension at the end. Not anymore. All it is now is a job. You get a set of keys, a big hat, and off you go. There's one poor chap who's been he's been charged, I believe, or he's certainly been suspended. They issue you with a truncheon, you know, and he used his truncheon, so they suspended him. What are they going to do? Charge him with assault? I mean, what you gave me this truncheon, you know, part of my equipment to use in the prisons, and I used it. Yeah, so how is that? You're providing me with encouragement in a way. I mean, when I was in the prison, I used the truncheon once, and that was when a particular inmate grabbed hold of the iron railings on the landing, and we couldn't get his hands off, so I just on both his hands and whoa, let go. But I never actually belted anybody in the head with it. I've seen people do it. When I was working on D-Wing one day at the Scrubs, yeah, some great big coloured gentleman, black man, kicked off, wrestling, fighting with staff. One of the staff got the truncheon out, whacked straight over the bloody bloke's head, as hard as he possibly could. It never fazed him. It snapped the truncheon in two. What use is them? Not any good, is it? Anyway, prisons. Massive overcrowding, building more prisons, and you look up Inquest, which is a charity to help people who have got loved ones who've died in custody, because you get people dying in police custody, people committing suicide in prison, or being murdered in prison, or mutilated, and as I said, there's been 371 deaths in custody in the prisons and the police cells in the last 12 months. How absolutely disgraceful is that? And the people who are being prosecuted and sent to prison are, generally speaking, the disadvantaged. You know, and this is what the article in The Guardian makes this point, that the people are disadvantaged, they're being prosecuted, they're vulnerable, they are not capable of defending themselves, and a number of them, in my experience, are unaware as to why they've been put in prison, because they have learning difficulties, and that's a big problem. Illiteracy, yeah, and you're thrown into society, which is a very literate society now. I mean, the days of this were being an agricultural or an industrial society. We are in a post-industrial society, and the actual population, if you are innumerate and illiterate, what are you going to do? You can't even be a car park attendant. And by the way, I've said this before, car park attendants get paid more money than prison staff. How disgraceful is that? I'm telling you, if they're going to build more prisons and they want to get some proper payment to the prison staff, train them properly and recruit people who are worthy of actually taking care of people who are disadvantaged. You don't need maniacs, and you don't need the basic broom pushers. You're going to need some people who have got some kind of intellect. Right, so that's a rant for today. Oh, I can hear that. Can you hear that? That's the Song Dinger, and I'm going to sing to you again. This is a song that I particularly like. It was played at my friend's funeral. My friend Professor Joe Cooper, who wrote a number of books. He wrote The Case of the Cottingley Fairies, which is an examination of the sightings of elemental beings in and around Cottingley Glen in Yorkshire. Yeah, I went there with Joe. Fine chap. Head of sociology for the Open University. He used to come here very regularly. Me and Joe we had a mutual friend, Colin Wilson, the author and philosopher. We used to visit him at his home in Cornwall. And this was played at Joe's funeral. And it's a song called 100 Years From Now, which was recorded by somebody called Earl Scruggs, I think it's the Foggy Mountain Boys. It's a bluegrass number. I'm going to bluegrass it to hell now. Are you ready, folks? Well, 100 years from now I won't be crying. 100 years from now I won't be blue. And my heart will have forgotten she broke every vow. Well, I won't care 100 years from now. Oh, it seems like only yesterday you told me you couldn't live without my love somehow. Now that you're with another, it breaks my heart somehow. But I won't care 100 years from now. Do you recall the night, sweetheart, you promised another kiss you never would allow? Well, that's all in the past, dear. It didn't seem to last, and I won't care in 100 years from now. There you go. 100 years from now. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed today's little stories about the prisons and the ridiculous deaths in prison. Disgraceful, a disgrace to this country. Got to do something about it. Speak up. Tell your Member of Parliament. And don't forget to listen to my 7th of November podcast with Sean Atwood on his True Crime channel. Great. Thank you very much.